Well, good afternoon and welcome. We're really excited to see all of you here today to help us celebrate. This is a really special and momentous occasion. My name is Peter Hofstetter. I'm the board chair. I work for Russell, so I'm taking my direction accordingly. But we really are happy to see everyone. We're glad Mother Nature held off. And this is just such a cool project that has been in the works for a good long time. And we're happy to have you here to celebrate. A couple of quick things. I promise this won't be a convention speech, so it'll be very quick. First and foremost, I think will be lots of thank yous and all that as the program goes on. But just from a board standpoint, I really want to thank the whole community for all the things that you've done to support Juliette's House, not just donations, but just in programs and every other possible way. We really, really appreciate it. And it couldn't happen without you. And secondly, a thank you to Russell and Bill. Where's Bill? Bill's hiding in the back. Those two really became sort of contractor, general manager, and every other thing with this project. And they've done a beautiful job, as you'll see as you walk around. So thank you to both of you for all your hard work. As we get started here, I think this is a perfect time just to remember where this sort of came from. And it's really a land acknowledgement, and some of you may have heard this or know this, but it's, I think, important for us just from a history standpoint to say where we are. And really, I'm going to read this just because I'll never remember it otherwise. We recognize that the land we occupy now in McMinnville is located on the traditional territories of the Yamhill band of the Kalapai people. In January of 1855, the people of this tribe were forcefully removed from the land after the signing of the Willamette Valley Treaty. They are now among 30 tribes and bands that make up the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. We at Juliette's House pledge to invest time, energy, and resources to learn more about and to work more closely with the tribes whose lands we now inhabit. We deeply value their input, culture, and wisdom, and as we continue working together to create a safer community for all. So I think it's just important to remember who we are and where we come from. So that's all.
I'd like to introduce Denise Harvey from the Tribal Council of Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, who will give our invocations.
Afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, and I'm honored to be here. And yeah, like I say, welcome to the homelands of the Grand Ronde tribe. So I was surprised. I wasn't expecting that land acknowledgement, but it was an honor to hear that. I'd just like to say to be here and to speak on behalf of such a great organization that does such great work. In my capacity of being an elected official to the Grand Ronde tribe, and I sit on the Liberty House Board of Directors. I'm the one who testifies for DOJ for violence against women. I've been involved in Indian boarding school issues and the MMIP and different things like that. I helped to build a new child care center that we have in Grand Ronde. So the children and the safety of our people have always been one of my highest priorities. And I do as much as I can in my capacity to fulfill those obligations, not only for our communities here in Oregon, but across the United States. So I'd just like to take a moment and bless us all, bless this organization, praise them, appreciate them, honor them, support them in the good work that they do for our community, for our children, for our women, for our families, and keeping us each safe and protected each and every day with a place where they know they can go when they need something. And that is probably one of the greatest gifts that we can give them, is just knowing there are people out there like all of us that are here to help and to protect them. So when we bless you all and you continue to do your good work, and amen.
Amen.
Now I'd like to introduce our County Commissioner, Kit Johnston. As you know, or may know, or you will know, The county commission was very, very helpful in helping us get this building built. So we're very grateful for that support and for all of the support that we get working with our county agencies. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Yamhill County Commissioner Kit Johnston. I'm honored to be here today and represent the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Mary Starrett and Commissioner Lindsay Bershauer unfortunately couldn't be here this afternoon. Both commissioners, however, were instrumental in Juliette's house receiving over $230,000 in ARPA funds, money that from 2 years ago was awarded. In 2022, when the county had grant dollars earmarked for local nonprofits, Commissioners Bershauer and Commissioner Starrett advocated for a families first approach and to ensure that our most vulnerable populations were served every day across the county. Today, we are seeing the use of that money and other fundraising accomplishments by Juliette's house come to fruition. Having this amazing, safe, and welcoming place for children and families to turn to in times of abuse and trauma is critical to our communities. The Board of Commissioners couldn't be more thankful for the work that the therapists and staff at Juliette's house do in conjunction with their other agencies across the county. It takes extremely special people to do this kind of work. We are beyond grateful that our county has a resource like Juliette's house. We hope that all of you can continue to be the shining light in the lives of children who need it most. Thank you.
Where's Dawn? There she is. I want to introduce Dawn Cooper, who has become an incredibly close friend of Juliette's house, the Roundhouse Foundation. Not knowing a great deal about us, they took our call, they listened to our appeal, and as it turns out, Dawn has a bit of a history working with children's advocacy centers. And so we got very fortunate, and like I said, Dawn and the Roundhouse Foundation have become very good friends, and we're grateful for them and the support that they gave in building this wonderful structure.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I think we're all here today because we recognize and deeply value child advocacy centers. Juliette's house, Russell, and his amazing staff and team have had a really great vision to bring even more support to children and their families. So when they reached out, talked about the new trauma recovery building, it was a real easy moment for me to step in front of my board and say, hey, we really need to support this extended service to kids and to families. So really excited to partner, continue to partner. I truly believe in the work that's being done here, and we're greatly appreciative to have all of you. So thank you, Juliette's staff. You guys are all amazing.
Now it's my pleasure to introduce our state representative, Lucetta Elmer, who is a dear friend, a great entrepreneur to this community, and a great person that has brought so much to the value of what we are doing, not just here at Juliette's house, but across the community. So many businesses, so many agencies that are doing great work. So, thank you.
Good afternoon. Thanks. Thank you, Russell. You guys are a great group. You look awesome out there. And I am just thankful that I get to be a part of this community because we have amazing places like the Juliette's house right here. And it's known here, but it's known throughout the state. You guys are a model, and I am just so proud to be able to represent District 24, but also just to partner with you. In my earlier years, I studied early childhood education, and I worked for a couple different centers, including Linfield, and that's an NAEYC accredited center, which is a national accreditation, and it's the highest standard that we have in the States. But working in a center like that really taught me a lot, opened my eyes to a lot. And I worked in centers that didn't have that, and maybe in places that saw some kids with trauma. And so to have a resource like this really hits home to me. And coming into the legislature as a newbie, I was placed on the Early Childhood and Human Services Committee. And it was just a great match for me because there is that passion inside for the early learner and for families. So I'm really happy to be able to call Russell friend and to be able to work with him. I've worked a lot with Diane as well, and just advocate for Juliette's house. So thank you for being so easy to work with. I have the honor today of introducing my friend and my mentor, former State Representative Ron Noble. He's been instrumental in the history and future of Juliette's house. So please welcome Ron Noble.
Who likes to follow a politician speaking?
Former politician.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Russell, for inviting me here today. And thank you for all the work that you, the board, and your staff does every day to improve the lives of family in our community. I think most of you know, that's why you're here, the importance of what Juliette's House does here in Yandell County. I had a chance through my career to watch what law enforcement was like and the justice system was like before we had child abuse intervention centers. I worked in Benton County at the time, and in 1997, same year the Juliette's House opened, ABC House opened in Albany. And it made a world of difference in how we pursued and not only prosecuted, but then addressed family issues with child abuse. It was medically based, and you would receive referrals from law enforcement and CPS, and then you would work together through a multidisciplinary team to solve the crime. But in watching over the last 30 years, the change in child abuse centers, where they now provide support, they provide therapy, they provide follow-up, they provide prevention programs. And that's one area actually Juliette's House actually is a leader, is in the prevention programs, the education that goes on. We have 27, I think, child abuse assessment centers in Oregon. And Juliette's House is one in the forefront in providing those supports to families. But there's more on the agenda. There are a lot of nonprofits and government agencies in this area that provide support to families, whether it be to child abuse or domestic violence or some other form of abuse in the family. And I think most of you all know that we in Yandell County would love to see a family justice center where all of these agencies and nonprofits come together and provide support together in one location to best serve our families. There's this thing that I believe that we can achieve, and most of us here are going to have a hard time. I see some younger people here that you'll be a part of this. I just dream of a day, and you can call this utopia, where maybe Juliette's House is not needed. Quite honestly, maybe law enforcement's not needed. The court systems are not needed, because maybe there's in our future a generation that actually figures out how to live without that conflict. And maybe where love takes over. Actually, not maybe, that's the ultimate goal, as opposed to all of the strife and division and the family issues that we deal with in our country. And McMinnville's not immune to those. I am thrilled, as many of you know, that earlier this year there were a large group of individuals that came together to vision what a family justice center would look like in this county. People from all over the community, all different agencies, all different nonprofits, all different walks of life, coming together to provide support for families and coming up with a strategic plan to get there. It's something that's not gonna happen tomorrow. And it's gonna take all of us to be willing to get involved and deal with how do we work together actually to support families so that at some point we won't no longer need to support families. But I think it's doable. I do think it's doable. It's gonna take all of us. It's gonna continue the work that Russell and the rest of the staff here are doing, the board. It's gonna continue the work that law enforcement is doing, the courts are doing, the community, your friends, your neighbors, and your families. We all experience it. I just think there's another step that we could take. And hopefully, at some point, before I totally retire, I can watch it happen. And maybe you can see it happen too. So I'm thankful for this building. I'm thankful that I was able to have a part. And it's an honor to be here today. I really appreciate the work that Juliette does and all of your support. Thank you.
So now it's my turn. Oh my gosh, Ron, thank you so much for those words, and Seta and all of you who spoke this afternoon. There's so much I would love to say, but my staff in the back is going, so I'll try to keep this as short as possible. Can you all hear the back if I move the signal close? Good. So I'm very excited that you are here. This is at least 2 years in the making, from conceptualizing to actually being here. We had hoped at one time to acquire the building next door during COVID, and that didn't work out. So one day, Bill and I were walking the property going, what can we do? What can we do? Could we get the church? Maybe the church is available. I don't know. And we were standing in front of this little patch of land over here that had a pergola on it that really didn't have a function other than it had been there for 25 years. And we said, what if we could put something there? So I talked to the board, and the board said, well, hell yeah, let's do it. So I called a friend, Marcia Mikish, who's a phenomenal architect and has worked with us on some other projects. And she came over and she walked the property and she said, we can do this. I can get you about 2,200 square feet and we'll make it work. And sure enough, through her creativity and working with the staff and making sure that the rooms were right and that the lobby was right. We had a bathroom that was ADA compliant, all of those components, and how does it mesh with this building? So it's all come together. There are a lot of people to thank because something this big doesn't happen with just 1 or 2 people. I'd like to take a moment, first of all, to say thank you to our incredible capital project donors. You see them listed on the back, but honestly, without them, we wouldn't have been able to begin to do anything. So let's give them a round of applause, please. They're true partners in this work that we do here. In addition, I want to thank Wayne Dykes, WD Construction, I don't think he showed up today. He's probably up working on another project, but Wayne and his crew have just been amazing. They are true craftsmen in the work that they do. And if you've ever worked with a contractor, it takes a lot of patience with your client as we change plans and say, well, what if we did this instead? And frequently he would come up with ideas that even preceded our coming up with those ideas. Of course, I have to acknowledge our board of directors who have just done amazing work and caught this vision and have kept me off the ledge a few times. And so if you're a board member of Juliette's House or a previous board member, would you please raise your hand? Oh my God. Thank you all of you. We are so fortunate. And then I absolutely have to acknowledge our staff. Our staff has put up with so much, their patience, their flexibility, the dust, the noise, moving people around like checkers in offices, and all of that, trying to keep all of the work that we do going every single day. So if you're a staff member, please raise your hand. You are so amazing. Thank you. Thanks all of you. And lastly, there are two very special people I have to thank. BJ Dennis is our grounds manager, our building manager, and our IT manager. And there is not a better man that I'm so happy has been a part of this project and helping us really navigate all the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts and schlepping furniture from one end of the building to the other and up and downstairs. You've been absolutely amazing, and we're grateful. We're very grateful that you're part of us. I think there's my partner in crime, as it were. Somebody said that, his partner in crime. And that's Bill Lindeman, our COO, who literally oversaw the day-to-day operation, working with Wayne and his team, and the plumbers and the city, and all of that minutia that you have to go through. I'm so grateful for his wisdom and patience. And he would talk me off the ledge, and I would talk him off the ledge. And by the end of it, we wound up with something that every one of us is so proud of. And then there's you, all of you, our community. You're freaking amazing. I've lived all over the country, and I've never lived in a community that cared so much about the work that we do here. It cared so much about really putting it on the line and saying, child abuse and neglect is not acceptable. And we will do everything we can to stop it. We'll do everything we can to prevent it. We will work and support not just Juliette's house, but other agencies in the community. We'll do phenomenal work, creating a safer, tighter safety net for everyone, for every child, for every family, so that this is one of the most amazing places to raise a child, to raise a family. So we are very grateful for the extraordinary support that you all give. And right now I have a very, very special thank you. He sort of glossed over it in his comments. But a little over 2 years ago, I got a call from Ron Noble. And he said, hey, I've got some funding. What does Juliette's house need? Well, those are words that people like me dream about. And so I very thoughtfully and very quickly came up with a list of some things that we needed because we were trying to do some remodeling in the building. And I sent it to him, and he responded back, great. What else? Well, I then wrote back a little bit longer list and said, we have this incredible idea of building a center that can really be a grounding point for behavioral and mental health in this community and potentially a model across the state. And I spelled it all out for him, and I sent it to him with a wish and a prayer that something could happen. I got a reply, let me see what I can do. So a couple of weeks later, I get an email saying, I've allocated 600,000 ARPA dollars for your project. I was blown away. And those of you who know me, I'm not very often speechless. But Ron came through because that was the beginning funding that then the county stepped in, and Roundhouse and Austin Family and so many individual donors stepped up to make this dream a reality. So, given all that you have done, Ron, not just for Juliette's house, but throughout the community, throughout your career, the board of directors unanimously decided we're naming this building after you. so grateful. So grateful. Let me find my notes. And we're not done yet. We're never done, I don't think. So we got more landscaping to do to make this an even more beautiful space. We've got new tech coming into our conference center, our conference room next week. We've got murals yet to be painted, donor appreciation coming up. This little garden that we put in over here, thanks to the new Rotary Club of McMinnville. There's so much more we want to do to make this a special place for our clients and for our neighbors and our community partners and our staff to say, we're here and we're doing good work and we care deeply for each and every one of the people who walk through our doors. So why do we do all of this? Well, you know the answer. We do it for the children. We do it for the children of this community who are in need. We do it for the families that have found themselves in crisis. We do it for all of those families out there who desperately don't want to be in crisis. And so we work to prevent trauma like this from happening for them. We want this to be one of the most incredible communities, not just in Oregon, but across the country, where you can raise a family in safety. And I look out, I see our law enforcement, I see our child protective services, I see so many agencies represented here, all of whom are tied together with this mission. How can we make this a great place to live? How can we make it a safe, a healthy place, a thriving community? The business community has really stepped up in a big way. Most communities don't do that. But this is Yamhill. We do things a little different here. And frankly, I think a whole lot better in some places. And I'm grateful for that. We believe that every child has a right to be safe. That's our motto. That's why we're here. That's why you're here, isn't it? That's why you're on this journey with us. And you have been. Many of you were here when we broke ground. Many of you remember when Juliette's house didn't exist, and now here we are. We're in our 27th year now. It's amazing. And it's true, the work that we do is messy and complicated. Sometimes it's really painful and ugly. But at the end of the day, there's hope. At the end of the day, lives are saved. Kids can find healing. Families can find healing and tools, resources that they can do a better job, because we know so many families, they didn't grow up in a great community. They didn't grow up in a great family. And they end up repeating some of those bad habits that they inherited. We can teach them differently. And the fact that they want to come here, first of all, through an assessment and a medical assessment is amazing. And then they're brave enough to step forward to say, I want to really heal. I want to be in therapy. And it's not just the child, it's the caregiver as well. And that may be bio mom or dad or aunts or uncles or grandparents or foster parents. It can be whoever is the caregiver of that child to say, I want to create that safe environment where we grow, where they're protected, where I'm learning to be a better caregiver, a better parent, where we can hold our head up high and say, I'm not ashamed. I hate what I went through, but I'm not ashamed. I'm a survivor. I'm no longer a victim. Those are powerful, powerful words. And we have the honor of empowering them in that way. And we do it. We do it for you. We do it with you. And we are so grateful for this partnership that we have in this community. Ron spoke briefly about this new venture that Juliette's house is moving into, but we're not moving by ourselves, not at all. This is a community-wide endeavor. And true to form, we start out dedicating a building for one program, and then we're off and getting ready to start something else. That's just who we are. because there's not an end to how many kids need us, how many families need us. And not just Juliette's house, but all of the agencies and services that are available in this community. Peter spoke a little bit about the land acknowledgement. And one of the things that to me is very powerful is the land that this building sits on. This is sacred space. It's not just sacred because of the history, it's sacred because of everything that happens here. All the lives, all the work that's done, the sweat, the tears, the prayers, the hope. That's what makes this a sacred space. You being here, a part of this community, makes this a sacred space. And we honor that every single day. And that's why, in part, we have ventured into this idea of a family justice center. Imagine a place where there are many agencies in one location. So there's Juliette's house, and there's Henderson House, and Provoking Hope. There's law enforcement there. There are other county agencies represented. CASA. So many great agencies so that there's one location that a family that is in crisis or about to cross the line into crisis can go. They're not going to the police department and the hospital, every other place, which makes it a really complicated process when your life is in chaos. The beauty is that there are 150 some odd family justice centers around the country. We will be the first one in a rural community. We will be one of only 3 so far in Oregon. And it's going to take all of us to do this together. It's a heavy lift. Space, operations, making sure we all play well together in the sandbox, and making sure at the end of the day, when somebody comes to us, we have the skills and the navigation and the professionalism to jump right into their messiness and help them find a way forward. That's the sacred duty that this community has given us. And we hold it very dear to the work that we do every day. So a lot more to come about that. There's a book called The Vision that I wrote along with some editing help. But it helps spell it out a little bit more. And so we're going to tell you a whole lot more as we move forward, and some really, really big things that are very shortly about to happen around the Family Justice Center. But let me tell you just a little bit about what happens here. Children's trauma research is ongoing in amazing ways. We are so plugged into it for the simple reason that we want to always be providing the very best care that we can. Not just to kids who come to us, not just to the immediate families that come to us, but also adult survivors. That's a whole population we don't even stop to think about. Adults who were abused as a child and they never received the care that they needed. We're thinking about them. We're actually serving some now, trying to help them finally find that healing that they deserve, and to put that trauma in a right perspective, a healthy perspective, so that they can move forward. That's amazing. There are very few behavioral health clinics that do that kind of work, and we're doing it. Juliette's House is utilizing cutting-edge research to continuously improve our practices, our new treatment modalities, the better-informed programs outreaching to every conceivable audience, including culturally specific communities who may have been really impacted by historic trauma. We want to be that face and that assistance to everybody we possibly can be. Something that wasn't said earlier is that this last year we educated 8,000 children and adults in prevention education. That's astounding. 8,000 kids and adults. It's because of a man named Michael Brott and his wife Norma, who were very involved in the very earliest days of this institution, who said, we need an education program in schools for kids. And so in less than a year's time of us opening our doors, we started a program called Safe Kids. You may have heard of it. Some of you may have been through it. And now we're from preschool all the way to adults in helping people understand that so much of the chaos, so much of the pain and the ugliness and the heartache doesn't have to happen. And you can play a part. Each one of us plays a part in making a difference in their lives. So this building that we're dedicating today is a legacy of the past 26 years of our work. Your support, your engagement makes it happen. It makes it all possible, and it makes a huge difference. Even those $5 a month donations, those are my favorite ones, because there's a story there. And these are people who are giving the very best they've got in that moment. And we honor that. We honor every single one of you who give and support, who volunteer, who go through our education programs. So to conclude, we're particularly grateful for the kids and the families who entrust their lives to us. They're why we're here. And we are so very, very, very grateful for you being here, your ongoing support, your ongoing engagement, because you also are a very big part of why we do what we do every day. So thank you. Thank you from the bottom of our heart, from our board, our staff, and on behalf of the kids and families that we see. So I think it's time to cut a ribbon.